Okay, hi, it's your astrologer from belladeveraofficial.wordpress.com. So today I'm doing birth chart reading for Harry Styles, and I'm gonna do uh 5 parts to basically 5 hours, or we'll see. So for the first part, I'm gonna just start with just a second here. Okay, let me just sorry. Okay, I have to get this. I'm going to show you. Can you see this? Okay, so I want to talk about first of all the some planets in the houses. So there's 4 quadrants. This is a Western chart, Vedic chart, but it's the same thing. So you can see the numbers there. Wherever the planets are here, they're going to be in the same place here. So I want to tell you first of all, there's 4 quadrants, and when your Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, the most of those planets in one quadrant, that's the kind of like personality you have. Um, so most of those planets for you, Harry, are in this quadrant here, third, fourth, and fifth. So that's the private quadrant, like being a private person or whatever. So let me just tell you quick. I just want to tell you, 12, 1, and 2 is the self. 3, 4, and 5 is private. 6, 7, 8 is others. 9, 10, 11 is the public. So yours is the private one. So okay, so for you, you have Sun, Mercury, Venus, and Saturn in the fourth house. And in the third house, you have Uranus and Neptune, and that doesn't count for like the planets I mentioned, but they're also, so I'll mention them. And then you have Mars in the third also, which I'll mention too. So anyway, um, for the private life, the quadrant that the planets are in really matters. You have to really pay attention to that part of your personality first of all. I mean, really, it's really important to know that and to care about it. Because if you're doing something against that, it's not going to be healthy for you. So if you're a private person, there's several things that I'm going to mention in this part of your reading for that quadrant, and for the planets aspecting each other, and these planets in that quadrant that make you a private person. So if you're caring about that and you respect that, respect yourself, whatever, it goes really well. But if you're trying to go against it somehow, or if people are influencing you and you don't do what is natural, then it's gonna give you problems. So like if you're trying to, even if you have some kind of job, like touring and being a musician, whatever, you have fans, and you know if you can still obviously have these placements with that kind of a job. You can still have a private life and whatever. But if you're trying to go against that, and or if people are influencing you to be public about your life, it's not going to go well. It's unhealthy. So this is a really important thing to care about. Um, and you have to look at like your MC, your midheaven. That's the 10th house. That's your public, your career persona, and the zodiac sign that is in that is your personality. So if you have like some outgoing placement there, it can make you seem like these planets must be in a different quadrant, but they're not, obviously. So it depends on what all is in your birth chart. But you definitely are a private person, so you need to make that balance the way it should be. And you know, like I said, people are supposed to care about that, and do, and you naturally will be that way. But yeah, so you're really an um extra or introverted kind of person in private, and these you need like uh this um kind of private life where it's not like sharing your whole life, and if you're going against that, you can make yourself sick. I mean, I don't know if you've ever been in that kind of situation, but some people have, and they feel, they can feel sick, and that's not healthy. So these kind of people, they want their space, their private life, and they want, sometimes naturally they can go for a couple of weeks without seeing people, which is, that's fine. It doesn't matter. But that's just the kind of quadrant this is, just to let that I don't know if you've ever noticed that about yourself, but that this is why these planets in that quadrant, that's why. Um, and these other aspects are why also that you're a private person. And some of them I'll tell about them, but not all of them are. Um, so, and these people, depending on what you have in your birth chart, if you are a private person, this private quadrant, you can be like a sensitive person sometimes. Like I said, you need your space and your private life to get, to make sure your emotions and your mind and whatever is healthy, and not like too much stuff going on, because depends on your moon sign too, if it's a sensitive one or if it's just a private one, or whatever. Um, you can not sensitive like crying, but just sensitive like you just need your space and whatever sometimes, and want your own time to yourself sometimes. Um, and so because with this quadrant, especially like with the sun, let me see, in the fourth house, a lot of these planets are in the fourth house. That means you're born at midnight. You're somewhere around there. So, it's like, under the horizon, whatever. Like that's the private thing, part of your personality. You don't want to be like the other quadrant, from the opposite, like, the public, like, just, spreading your whole life, and, so that's part of why you're private person, because of the time you're born. Um, so yeah, the degrees also really matter for, especially this next part I want to tell you about. Um, some aspects are closer in degree than others. So that's when you feel these aspects more strongly. If it's farther apart, it's going to be, if it's a difficult placement, then it'll be less of a difficult thing, or whatever. So first of all, okay, so like I said, the Sun, Mercury, Venus, and Saturn are in the fourth house. So we'll talk about them first. So Okay, so first of all, Sun in the fourth house. This is a really fun thing to notice. I've noticed this about you, and I think you've mentioned this before. It's like the Sun in Aquarius is like you know they are independent and want to like be different from the crowd. They don't want to just do what everybody else is doing just because. Sun in Aquarius can be like it's ruled by Saturn and Uranus, so it can be Sirius and the grown-up planet that's Saturn, but also Uranus is rebellion and, like I said, not just following the crowd. But in the fourth house, that's the Cancer house. The home, the mother is the fourth house. So you are really, and also the sun in the fourth house. That's the private house, Cancer in the fourth house, and the mother. The moon is also the fourth house. That's the private house. That's um, you know, like a homebody kind of a person sometimes. Excuse me. Um, I have allergies. Okay, so um, and they, I mean, not always homebody. Like you're not gonna have the career that you have because obviously you do. But like when you're in your career, like touring or something, you're a homebody there too. Like you want your private life there too, and not just like being the opposite of like just the public kind of a person. Um, and on social media or in interviews, for your work or whatever, this private party will people can notice it, and these people are you are I'm so used to not giving birth chart readings on my YouTube channel, so I talk for everyone, but I'm gonna try to make this really about you since this is your birth chart reading. So I don't know if you can see my notes. I'll just show them to you. This is what I've written down for this part of it. So anyway, the sun in the fourth house is really you know likes their space, their wherever they are at the moment to be like their home. They're cozy and comfy, and they might like to cook or have good meals or whatever, and be that's the fourth house. Those are kind of things of the fourth house, and one kind of cool thing about your personality I've noticed, and I think you said maybe this placement, the sun in the fourth house, in the moon house or the Cancer house, you people notice that you have grandmother vibes. I think you said those words maybe one time. I'm pretty sure you did. Um, that's the sun in the fourth house. You're gonna be like um kind of that motherly type or fatherly type, whatever. Like nurturing or caring or giving hugs or that kind of personality, or like like motherly, like the people feel like they can, like, I don't know, be around you like that, like you're kind of like a taking care of people kind of a person. That's what this placement is about. um and we'll talk more about the actual aspects later on too. But just that in itself is what the sun in the fourth house is like. Um, and Venus in the fourth house. I should mention the sun is your identity, your vitality, your ego, your self goals and your path in life and this kind of thing. Um, so and Venus, um, your Venus is in Aquarius. So Venus is love, relationships. It's all the five senses. It's financial matters also. Now you have four planets in Aquarius. Um, your Saturn is in Pisces. Your Mars in the third house is in Aquarius, but anyway, the degrees matter. So that's why it's in a different house than the other planets in Aquarius. Um, so Venus in Aquarius, Venus is like all kinds of relationships and love, like friends, family, romantic relationships, every sort of relationship. So Venus in Aquarius is like you are, if it's a romantic kind of thing, you can be attracted to people that are like uh, either Aquarius or you have to look at your son's house too for that. But anyway, like innovative and creative and kind of maybe a little bit of psychic ability is like thinking in the future. Um, you can be the type of person that would be attracted to someone that is different from what the norm is. Like Venus in Aquarius or just Aquarius isn't really into like standards, like they can go against that and, be interested in someone, from a different kind of background from them or anything, whatever race or any kind of anything. So, but Venus in the fourth house is it's a strong placement to have. It's a really nice, good placement to have. Uh it's when it's like you're really charming and attractive, like really good with like relating to people. But Venus in the fourth house is a private house, so you're not in like in people's faces. Like when if your Venus was in a different zodiac sign in a different house, someone else might be in people's faces and annoying even or obnoxious or whatever. But this placement is a really nice one to have where you're like subtle, like in a good way, not in people's faces and whatever, and like whatever obnoxious or something. And this placement can be it's a really deep placement, like for relationships, romantic and otherwise. Like people, if someone doesn't know you and they think something different than this placement, like it's a really deep placement for Venus to be like in relationships. You can be like really deep, really have a personality that is you know um not shallow, not it's really a healthy placement to have for relationships. It's really thoughtful or deep in that way, like not not just not caring. It is a caring place to have Venus for relationships, and it makes you want to have stability in your relationships, and it can also be like your relationships give you the emotional kind of stability. Uh, when you're around people, that's when you can have that emotional stability or whatever. Which it's not like emotions like the moon, like your emotions, whether it's stable or not, but because that's a moon, that's a different subject. But just in relationships in a deep kind of way, you have stability in that way of, about that kind of thing. And Mercury in the fourth house. Mercury is communicating and thinking and skills and your sense of humor. Um, it's all kinds of communicating, like any type of communicating that you can think of that you can do, computers, writing, pen and paper, speaking, uh, emails, anything on the computer, telephones, any possible and way of communicating, and it's skills and like presentations and your your skills at your work. And Mercury is like the everyday kind of routines you have. It's also an Aquarius, which is really innovative, uh, creative kind of a way of thinking and communicating, and different from, like I said, Aquarius communicates in a way that's like does what they, excuse me, my nose is really bugging me right now. Mercury in Aquarius is like, they communicate in a different from the crowd kind of a way. They don't like, and it's the 11th house, which is your friendships. Aquarius is the humanitarian, so they're not on an emotional level about communicating, but they are like the ones that would be like, you know, kind of sticking up for people, kind of a personality or whatever. Um, um, but okay, so that's Aquarius, but Mercury in Aquarius in the fourth house though makes it a little bit different. It makes it more nurturing, more Cancerian, like more motherly, uh, you know, emotional, like they care about how they communicate. They like to communicate in a nice way, in a thoughtful way, and so they're not Cancer and the moon is Cancer is ruled by the moon. So it's the most emotional zodiac sign. So in the fourth house I should have mentioned. I don't think I really did it. It's it's the fourth. It's the moon and the mother. It's your emotions, but it's what you want in your life to feel nurtured, to feel safe. Um. So Mercury communicating in that emotional, private kind of house. It's like that, and it's communicating, and it it's like the taking care of people kind of a way of communicating. It's really much like in Aquarius and Cancer kind of a way. Um, so the unemotional but the humanitarian Aquarian kind of way of communicating, and the Cancer kind of emotional, motherly, nurturing kind of communicating is blended. So and they let me see. It can be an intuitive placement to have. Mercury, like I said, is thinking and whatever, and all the water signs and the water sign houses, which would be this one, of course, one of them. They have some psychic abilities. So your Mercury in the fourth house can be like, can sense people's emotions some, and that's the part where like Mercury being in the fourth house can be like really, caring about their way of communicating. And you have to look at all the aspects, because there could be something else that can change this a little bit. But this in itself is what I'm saying. Um. So yeah. Let me see. Okay, so let's move on to Saturn in the fourth house. Saturn planet in all of us is that part of us that is responsible, that is, um, and the adult part of us, in the fourth house, and Saturn is karmic. Wherever Saturn is, it can be restrictive and karmic, and give you responsibilities and you know that kind of thing. Saturn in the fourth house is karmic and responsibilities about your family life. Um, it's it's like you have karmic ties with whoever is in your immediate family setting, and wherever you're from, that can be a place that you always go back to, even if you're away from home. And Saturn always brings you back there, and it it might it can be different because of these different placements where there can be times when you go back there, or it can this karmic side of it, I mean, doesn't have to last forever, but you can still always go back there and have your relationships with your family or whatever. But the karma can end, though, whatever karmic responsibilities you feel like you have towards your family. um Let me see. Saturn in the fourth house. Saturn is really unemotional. Aquarius and Capricorn are ruled by Saturn, so they're the most unemotional zodiac signs. Capricorn is the most unemotional, but then it's Aquarius. So anyway, so you have a lot of placements where you're a really unemotional person, um, and but these planets in the fourth house make it so that changes a little bit. So you are an emotional person in some ways, or kind of Cancerian kind of a personality. The Saturn there makes it really unemotional and karmic, and kind of gives it like a heavy kind of a feeling. Karmic duties, to the fourth house matters, like your home or your family or where you're from. And let me see. This placement can also mean that the your parents, or if you have one more in your life than the other, it can mean that that person can be restrictive or strict in their emotional relationship with you. Um, that can make it kind of a different, you know, the fourth house not being so much of a fourth house feeling. Like it can restrict your emotional things going on with your family. It, it there can be different kinds of ways that you had a lot of responsibilities, but this is a placement for that where you somehow have had responsibilities growing up, and it's like a placement where you feel like less of a child and more of an adult, because of all the responsibilities you've been given by your mother or father, or whoever. And um, I don't know what all it would be, but this is a placement for that. It could be in different ways um, throughout your life, or a teenager growing up, especially in the music business. That can be a big responsibility. I can start with that from whenever you started that, or it can be something else too. You would know what that's specifically about. And then let me see. This is one cool thing about this placement also. Saturn is kind of like an old planet. It's like a vintage kind of, or your place of Like it can be like the kind of person that is wants everything to stay the same, like not change your residency so many times, or live in a Saturn kind of a home, or like an old kind of home, maybe, who knows, but it can be that way, and it can be like where you could like to own old items and fix them, or maybe not, but maybe you, I don't know, maybe you like antiques or something, or and the one example could be like old cars. I've noticed some pictures of you in your cars or whatever. That kind of personality, that's Saturn in the fourth house also. And this placement can be about your personality. It can be that you are the really motherly type of a person. It can be where you're any kind of relationship, like if you have a romantic relationship, or if you have kids, or if you have responsibility, where like if you would be a teacher or something, or if you would be, like at your concerts or something, like your fans. It can be this kind of placement for that also, like where you're kind of responsible, kind of a motherly person, for whatever is going on, and you kind of take that role on where you're, you know, probably can understand what I'm saying, but it's the placement of being like really like overly motherly or fatherly or whatever, um it can be like where you're overprotective of people, or you're you worry about them, or you always want to make sure they're okay and what's going on with them, and those kinds of things. um Let me just get a drink here. Hold on. Okay, I'm drinking this beer. So, talking a lot makes my voice dry out. Okay, so Saturn in the fourth house, and then let's go on to the aspects. Okay, Sun and Venus. Let's talk about, first of all, the fourth house. Sun, Mercury, Venus, and Saturn are there, so it's a conjunction basically between all of those planets together, different combinations. So I'll try to cover all of them, I think. I'm just going to say what's on my paper now because I don't want to lose my voice. Okay, so Sun and Venus together, the conjunction. Um, it can be Sun is your goals and that kind of thing. Venus is love, like I said. So the Sun with Venus can make like where you um some parts of your life you can give up relationships, some to do your work kind of stuff. Not always. It doesn't mean that at all. Like you won't have relationships or have like a marriage or something eventually, but it means just some part of your life it can be where you can give up that kind of a thing, like for part of your life, whatever, to do your whatever goals and your work and stuff. It can be whenever the sun is with a planet, and the degrees matter. Like I said, the closer in degree, the more this will be for what I'm gonna say. The sun can burn whatever it's with, and for it can make it difficult but not impossible to get through this placement. Or it can be like the sun purifies whatever it's with, and can bring difficulties, so you can work through these and learn how to do the other planet properly. It purifies it, in that kind of way, like makes it so it's doing what it should be doing, and so you have a good healthy way of doing whatever it is that is going on with the aspect or whatever the other planet is, communicating love or you know whatever it is, so some with Venus, yeah, that's a part of it. It can be like you can be a really artistic kind of person, like writing, singing, that kind of thing, with whatever your job is about. And it's the placement where you can be good at like communicating with people, like counseling or listening to them, that kind of thing. Being like a good listening kind of person for someone else and their problems or whatever. There can be other general kind of things that these can mean. I'm not going to go through absolutely every possibility because for a job, possibility of all sorts of jobs, because basically, what yours is, like, everyone knows you're a singer and, touring and writing, that kind of thing. So I'll just stick to basically, what I know specifically this is about you. Um, so that's what that can mean. And Mercury with Saturn gives it a restrictive, serious kind of communicating. You can be like a methodical and consistent in your way of learning and your way of communicating, and like um you could be the kind of person that thinks a lot, especially with an air sign in Mercury or the other placements, the other planets, and good at listening, like I said, and on the inside, you might want to like be the kind of person that, or you might feel like you want recognition for your work or something, but on the outside, this placement will give you the type of personality that is more humble and doesn't try to get attention for such things, whatever is in your life. Because Saturn is serious and the grown up planet, and Mercury skills. So with Saturn, when Saturn's with a planet, it makes it more of a serious, kind of a restrictive kind of a thing going on. It's Saturn and Venus. Okay, Saturn and Venus. It's Venus is about relationships. Saturn can bring difficulty and Venus kind of things in her younger years, and then when you're 30 or 35 or whatever, it can get easier. All these difficult placements don't mean it's going to be difficult forever. It means there's just things to work out. So, the universe or, transits, or, Saturn with Venus, Saturn can give you these situations where you get a chance to work these things out, like I said, before, like about Venus kind of thing. So you can, you know, um, make it so it's, the way it should be for you and what makes you the happiest in these things. So it's like you Saturn with Venus can make it scary to be in relationships. It can make it so y- people with this aspect, you could have been hurt in your any kind of relationships, especially with the South Node. Um, like my South Node is in Scorpio, and your South Node is in the Scorpio house, which is the same thing. So growing up, it's a traumatic kind of a placement to have. So any type of relationship can be difficult romantic or not, with family, friends, everyone. Someone or another could have hurt you, and um, it can be Let me just see here. Hold on, let me just make sure I'm not forgetting the other things I wanted to say. Also, um, oh yeah, if I don't say this now, I'll say it probably later. But um, with Saturn, like I said, with Venus, it can somewhere along the line something or someone hurt you in relationships, and that can be where it's really scary to have relationships, and like um Saturn gives you these, more couple more, things to work on like this, like in romantic relationships, so you can notice these things and work them out, um, so you don't have to hold on to, your hurt feelings or whatever, and can heal from it. So with this placement, though, it's easy to look for such things in people, or people do this to you also, where it could have made you feel unworthy somehow. So Saturn gives you certain relationships where like you can learn that you are worthy of, love or relationships, romantic or not, otherwise every kind, and where you can heal from it and, love yourself or whatever. That's what this placement is about, because you're definitely worth it. Everyone is. But yeah, um, so it can be a difficult placement, but as you get older, it can get better. It's not all, you're not stuck in some horrible situation with this one placement. It can, Saturn helps you work these things out. So, um, Saturn, let's see, okay, that's basically what that. So, oh, and one other thing, Saturn, like I said, is the grown-up planet, whatever. So, especially with Aquarius in your birth chart, and I have to know since I'm an Aquarius, Aquarius is kind of go for older people, like men date older women, or women date younger men. But with this placement, you can definitely like be attracted to or date older women. That's one thing with this placement. Also, Saturn is the grown up planet that makes it that with that conjunction with Venus that way. Mercury and Venus together. That's a really good placement to have. It's Mercury, like I said, is communicating, and Venus is love. You know, um, so it can make you really charming and clever. It can be um, where you're with maybe one of these placements, you're more of a one aspect where it's kind of like you more of a rougher kind of a way of communicating. And Aquarius is like this also, and to begin with, I think they're not an emotional zodiac sign. So, but with this placement, the Mercury conjunct Venus, it can balance that out. It's really a nice placement to have. It's really diplomatic and, um, kind of like loving or caring or, smooth kind of way of communicating. Um, and with Mercury and Venus in a conjunction, you can have good friendships with your siblings or with friends, or have, it's important, and it's something that you do have, like, can rely on such people when you're in situations where you want to communicate with someone about something. Those are the people with this placement that can make that possible, like where you feel like you have someone you can talk to maybe or whatever. And um, this is the placement where you might like to read a lot or gather information, or you know, um, Venus is all the five senses, and um, Mercury is skill in communicating and thinking. With that combination, it's that kind of a thing where maybe you like to research stuff, or microphone, that kind of thing. Um, know about different cultures, or I don't know, that kind of thing maybe. Mercury with the sun, um, especially in the fourth house, it can make you really home and property oriented, like good at such things, taking care of that, or where you have that at an early age maybe, or and that's let me see. This is the one placement. The one thing that can become more of a private person. They don't always want to share their thoughts with everyone, but they definitely have, can have a lot of thoughts or opinions of their own, or whatever. And this is a placement where someone or another in your experience, someone growing up, the dominant people in your life could have, as a child, could have made it so you felt like you don't want to ask for things, don't want to communicate with people sometimes, because someone along the way hurt you and made you feel like it's not, they don't have time for that, and maybe said no a lot, or just disregarded what you were saying. And this is kind of difficult placement to have. But like I said, with Venus there, it can help, such things. So it's kind of like you're always anticipating people saying no to you, or not now, or no, I don't have time, or that kind of thing. So um, but with all these, some of these other things that can help, sort this out eventually, or make it less of a, and the degrees being farther apart can make it less too, which it is. I think the Mercury's at 29 degrees and your Sun's at 11 degrees within Aquarius. So that's not the most close placement to have. So this could be less because of that. Um, but the closer in degree, the more you would feel it. And maybe you do. I mean, sometimes these aspects don't. I've noticed in my practice in astrology that it's not always gonna be, less of a thing. Sometimes even though the degrees are that far apart, it can still be that way a lot, depending on your all sorts of things in your birth chart, or your life growing up. Um, so it's important to know that, though, like, so you can, and with these other aspects, make sure you're thinking and working on, this, making sure you know that you're worth it, or that you're loved, or that kind of thing, because that can be a difficult placement to have. But or it could have been in your work situation too, or friends, or whoever. I'm not sure. I mean, you would know more specifically about this, but like for your exact life or whatever. But that's a general kind of what this aspect means. So let me see. Um, and Mercury with the sun, this can be like a rough kind of a way of communicating, uh, anxious, and because of this situations where someone or another could have hurt you, and it made it so you are always anticipating someone shutting your ideas or your thoughts or your feelings down. It can make it more of a you know more of an anxious, rough kind of communicating. But like I said, with Venus there, that can really, and the degrees being farther apart, it can help that out and make it less of a thing, way of communicating. But that's basically the reason kind of behind that. And especially with the Aquarius, they're a fixed sign, so they're stubborn. All four fixed signs are the fixed, the modality is makes it, so each zodiac sign has something in common. Um, so that can be, a placement where you you're really sure of your opinions, and that's a good thing. And especially with Aquarius, they're ruled by Uranus, which is rebellion, and so they're like, whenever I say something, I mean it. That's what I meant. I said no, I said yes, so that's what I mean. That's kind of your personality. And so in a fixed sign, like stay the same, or they're stubborn, and their way of communicating is like that. Like, you know, um, they're like I said, they're sure of their opinions, or what they're feeling, or what they mean or what they say, and that's the way it is. That's a good thing. That's a really good thing about your personality. I think it's. I mean, maybe I'm just loyal to my own zodiac sign because I'm an Aquarius, but I think it's good. I mean, it's fun to it's a really cool thing to have that kind of personality where you're confident in what you're saying or whatever. That's a good thing. And the with this placement, with the degrees farther apart like it is, it can be like where you when someone says something, you don't get as offended. Um, like someone else. What if their conjunction was the same exact degree or something? Whenever someone says no to them, or whenever someone has a different opinion, you can be less likely to get offended with the this placement that you have, the degrees and everything, and get their opinion or whatever. So let me see. Let me just get a drink quick again. Hold on a minute. Okay. Now let's just move on to the third house. I'm just gonna mention this quick. Let me see. So, okay, your Mars, Uranus, and Neptune is in the third house. The third house is the Mercury house. It's the communicating house. It's the skills and the it's short distance travel. It's like siblings, I think. It's like you're thinking, like I said, all ways of communicating. It's when you it's your sense of humor. It's the daily routine. It's the skills and the learning, like learning skills, like learning instruments or hobbies, or that kind of thing. So with Mars there, Mars is aggression. For this placement, basically, it's more about aggression. It's more about like you have a busy communicating life. You have either like communicating in person or otherwise, busy like traveling, obviously. or like busy just communicating, a lot of back and forth with people in work or, whatever. Whereas, Mars is energy and aggression and, like the planet that is like, action or whatever and, gets things done or gets things going or, in your work, like, it can be like where you have goals or plans and Mars is the planet that helps that. Um, get things going or done or gets your the project or whatever that you have gets it going or makes it so you can finish it or whatever. um excuse me. So Mars in the third house is really busy and communicating and it's enthusiastic. It's the placement where it's a really confident placement to have, like whenever it's like you have authority about you and like whenever you're communicating for your work or for something else, it's like people really see authority kind of in you and really a lot of confidence and they see someone that really knows what they're talking about and it's the placement where like you can be good at like even if you're thinking of something, if you're saying something and whatever it is, I don't know of a good example, but there can be tons of examples of this of communicating, but like which is the third house, but with the Mars and the aggression and the authority, coming out, in you, whatever that people see can be like where if you're thinking something and you're not quite sure of your opinion about something or the research you did or the whatever. With this placement, when you're talking about it though, people don't see what you're thinking or feeling if it's not quite as much confidence in some situations. They see confidence, they see authority on the outside of you. When you're feeling maybe something in a certain situation a little bit different or something, um, with this placement, they're gonna believe every word you're saying. They're gonna believe that you know exactly what you mean, what you're talking about, and that you really believe what you're saying, and that all those kinds of things. Like they're not gonna see the maybe the unsure part of your feelings or your thoughts or whatever. They're just gonna see confidence and authority in you. With this placement. Um, so you can be good at like selling your product or if you were ever doing anything like that or uh, in a debate or something. This can be a placement where you could win the debate because of this or all sorts of situations could be about this but so Uranus in the third house. Uranus rules your sun sign, your Aquarius, in whatever planet is in Aquarius. Uranus is one that definitely rules Aquarius. So it's rebellion and it's like where it brings new things. It's innovative, it's creative, it's about technology. It's about disruptions also. It's about uncertain things happening or spontaneous things or all of a sudden unplanned things. So in the third house, it could be like a all of a sudden like a creative idea comes to you for your work or hobbies or whatever. Spontaneous times where these ideas can come to you. It's like all of a sudden just Uranus is electricity, like just out of the blue. Just that's what Uranus does, especially in the third house, thinking and skills and everything. in this really innovative placement to have it. And also Uranus is like it's traveling and long distance and ups and downs and like like if you have a relationship and it's one person or two people always, being like touring or like, traveling somewhere for your work, it's traveling like that. Or it's moving around. It's like unplanned trips, you know unplanned kinds of things, spontaneous things happening. Third house is communicating skills and sense of humor and, whatever, writing, all those kinds of things. So it's you can like, you know, be have these Uranus kind of spontaneous things happening in your, all of the third house things. And have a Uranus kind of speaking like uh out there, like different from the crowd, and kind of a way of speaking or shock people. Aquarius is known for shocking people in on purpose too sometimes, like just for the reaction, just for the fun of it. And Uranus in the third house can be that kind of a thing. Um, Let me see. I wanted to mention more stuff that I didn't write down everything, but I wanted to. Something just came to me with a certain placement. One of these good aspects, not one of the difficult ones, but it's like in public where you're really kind of like proper and can adapt to different kinds of situations. Um, like be charming in those, or like good at fitting in with people, or if it's some fancy party and whatever, or being classy, that kind of a thing. I don't know. I wish I would have written that down better because that's really a cool thing to have too. But anyway, on with this though. Uranus, kind of was speaking, it can be kind of where you shock people with your ideas or your just way of communicating or thinking, whatever you happen to say at the moment, or if you've planned something, or if you came up with an idea for work or whatever. Uranus in the third house can be like your sense of humor can be like where um you can shock people with your ideas or your sense of humor, or that kind of thing. And people that are Uranian, they get this, but if someone is completely not Aquarius or Uranus kind of a personality, you can really shock someone with this placement. Like be it can be a fun placement to have. I think like where you can get reactions out of people and stuff. Um and um I don't have a bunch of aspects for this, but I'm just talking about basically what, because this I wanted this to be about the quadrant part of this, because these most of these planets I've already talked about up to Mars, everything in the fourth house. That's the actual planets that are for what you look at for the quadrant part of this reading. But Uranus and Neptune aren't. But let me just finish with Neptune here. Um, and then I will do 4 other readings, at least an hour long, if not more. Who knows what I'll get into talking about. I'm gonna do 4 more readings regardless of the time, but at least an hour, and um probably more on a couple, because there's some really cool things I want to tell you about that will probably take longer than an hour. But anyway, so I'll definitely be doing 4 more readings, and I don't think I can keep talking all straight through the 5 hours, but I will do them as soon as I can for each one. But let's finish up with Neptune in the third house. Neptune is the Neptune isn't always fun to hear about either, but so Neptune is, for one thing, it can be psychic abilities, it can be creative, it can be dreamy in a good way, in creative ways, or psychic abilities, which you do have some psychic abilities I will tell you about in another reading. And I might even do more than 5, possibly, because I think your birth chart is really cool. It's fun to do readings for, because the psychic abilities one is a really cool thing. And you have several of them, I think, aspects and stuff. So, anyway, Neptune, though, it can be psychic abilities. It can be, Neptune is where there's no boundaries, either like in your own birth chart or with you and other people. It can be the Neptune rules Pisces, so it can be like a lazy kind of a place, well, planet. It can be like it can be indecisive, or like Neptune is like deceit. So when you have aspects in your birth chart that involve Neptune, if it's some kind of a difficult one, maybe, or a part of a difficult one, because all aspects can have a good part to them too. It's not all just gloomy stuff. So it can be, Neptune can be deceit, where you're not quite seeing the picture, like it really is somehow, or if you're communicating, it can be like it somehow, not clear details of what's going on, um so Neptune in the third house, especially third house, is communicating. So it can be like that kind of a placement, where you're communicating with people. It can be like sometimes it can be like you might not understand quite what someone's really saying, or it can be where some people might think more that you could be naive than you really are, and try to take advantage of that, or whatever. Um, anyway, I don't want to end this on a annoying uh, aspect, but that's what Neptune in the third house can be like. But it's a creative, imaginative thing. It's creative, like writing and skills and music, and all those kinds of things. Or like I said, psychic abilities. Um, yeah. Um, yeah. I think that's all I'll say for that for now. But yeah, like I said, I'll be doing more readings for you soon. So 4 more readings for you at least. So hope you like this one.